This is Armando from Average Dude Music Reviews. I'm here with lead singer Stevie from Eviction Notice. How's it going, Stevie?
It's
Uh,
going great, thank you.
right. Eviction Notice is a heavy pop punk band from Dallas, Texas. So it time difference is a little bit. It's about 2 hours ahead from where I'm from. So thank you for taking the time to for this interview. Uh, as far as the band, how did you guys come about? How did this entire music thing happen? How did it start out for you?
Absolutely. So everyone in our band is also in another band. So the drummer is my husband, who also has a solo career. Our bassist is our roommate, who also has a solo career. Our guitarist is a friend we made along the way in Dallas, who also has a solo career. And our rhythm guitarist, again, is also in a band, Apartment 75. So we all met through the music industry. And I randomly was like, hey, I really want to start a pop punk band. I have a lot of friends in the industry, specifically in pop punk, and I always thought that they were so cool and fun. And I was like, dude, I want to do that. And so I asked them, and they all were completely down. And I said, well, I guess we have a band now. So that's how we came about.
Right, just friends meeting friends, or people meeting people, and then just organically happened.
Yep.
That is awesome. But why specifically pop punk? Is that like a genre that everybody had in common? Is it something that you guys grew up on?
So yes, we all grew up on it. Not all of us necessarily do it outside of Eviction Notice. In fact, my husband does hip hop. Our roommate Alex, the bassist, he does more post-hardcore. Logan's in more of like a proper rock and roll band. So we're kind of all over the place, but we all grew up on pop punk. We all have gone to Warped Tour. Like it was the foundation for all of us. So of course we have to go back to our roots at some point, and that's why we're here.
All right, all right. I've actually never been to Warped Tour. Actually, for me, I didn't really get into pop punk. Like I grew up on it was during the time of its heyday in the early 2000s. I didn't really listen to it much. It took me a little bit longer to start getting into it, but I like letting music cook for me. So then it's like, okay, now I understand. Now I get it. And now I get
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
Now
absolutely.
it just hits better for me where I'm at now.
For
And then
sure.
leading into uh uh pop punk and whatnot, you're the most your debut single, Overthinking, it's about overthinking and being in your head a lot. And how did how how did the creation process for that song come about? Like what did everybody contribute small pieces? How does the lyric writing go?
For sure. So for this specific song, it was all me on the writing process. And that's because I've had this song kind of in a back burner for a long time I had no anticipation of releasing it. It was something that I wrote amidst a panic attack, to be completely honest. I do suffer from an anxiety disorder. So anxiety is just what I live with. It's what I do. It's my thing. And so I originally wrote it as just a way to kind of get it out on paper. And again, I didn't really intend for it to ever be public. It was more like a diary entry. But then when we started the band, I said, this is a good first song, I feel like it would resonate with a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people struggle with anxiety and with that overthinking. And so I said, we're just going to send it. And so we did.
So it was a full send. You know what? Let's choose this. Let's go forward. We're pushing forward. We're not overthinking it. We're just gonna do it. That kind
Exactly.
of. All right, all right. And do you feel like uh when making it, and you said that you did it in the midst of a panic attack. Do you feel like uh for the future songs that you guys are planning on making, that perhaps mental health themes will be somewhat prominent, especially I feel like especially nowadays it permeates a lot of the music industry, a lot of the music songs out there. Is that something that you guys will also kind of tackle as well?
Very likely. So funny, we have this holy grail book, we call it. It's the Eviction Notice book of there's I think 43 songs written in there. And a lot of them are from personal experiences amongst all of us, things like depression, anxiety, stressors in general. I mean, there's a reason our band is called Eviction Notice. It's from experience. So I do think that a lot of our music is going to be based around just mental health and just taking care of yourself in general, especially in the pop punk scene, because I feel like, especially, the age group of pop punk tends to be kind of in the teen years, which is a very formative time. And I don't feel like in the past we've protected the fan base in pop punk, both in mental health and just like protecting them from other people. And so we kind of want to be a safe space in the pop punk scene, where they can feel safe, they can feel protected, they can be themselves, whatever themselves may be. So that's the hope for sure.
All right, so it's just trying to be fully inclusive in who they are and telling them, hey, you're not the only one that has struggles. Everybody, uh, although they may not show it, they still also they relate more than you think. Kind of
Yes.
idea. All right, and going off of that, so you mentioned that the band name Eviction Notice. How did that name come about specifically for the band?
So we were trying to come up with a good band name. And while we were doing so, we were in a pretty rough financial situation. And the same day that we were trying to come up with a band name, we got in our mail an eviction notice saying that if we couldn't pay in full, we had to leave. And I was so stressed out and just crying, upset. But while I'm like holding on to that paper, I was like, you know what, though? This would make a good band name. So I texted our group chat and I said, what about eviction notice? And they said, that's great. And we ended up being able to pay our rent and everything ended up being fine. But in that, we found our band name.
That I honestly for the I love the name Eviction Notice
Thank
because
you.
I kind of started taking it in relation to the overthinking. It's kind of feels like an eviction notice of the feelings that you kind of get. It's like anxiety, all the depression, being in your head a lot. You're kind of giving eviction notice to all those sentiments and telling people, hey, you may get an eviction notice of you can share these feelings.
Absolutely.
Uh, so as far as the band goes and the members, how long has everybody been in the music industry? Have you guys did you guys
Oh,
grow up playing music,
so
practicing? Did you go to professional lessons?
So it's kind of oh, it's everywhere. For instance, our drummer has been in the industry probably, I want to say 5 years now. So actually when I met him, he had just started kind of dipping his toes into it. Fun fact, three out of us all worked or still work for School of Rock, which is a company that teaches kids and adults how to play music. And our drummer, I met him through School of Rock because he came in for vocal lessons. And in doing so, he became a guitar teacher and a drum teacher and my husband. And then Alex, our bassist, he's been doing music. I want to say he's been doing it for at least a decade and a half. I know he was in multiple bands in high school. He was in bands in college. So he's been doing it for a while. Same with Logan. I don't really know with Johnny. Johnny's our rhythm guitarist. He's our newest member. He actually didn't come on until this past week. So he's our baby, and we're very excited to work with him. And as far as myself, I've been in the music industry since I was 6 years old. My parents were in a bluegrass band. They've played since I can remember. I would help them with backup vocals, with tambourine, later with guitar. And then after I left, I did a lot of acoustic stuff. My primary was folk music for a long time. But I got tired of it. So I went over to more rock music, worked for School of Rock, left School of Rock, and joined a pop punk band. So
All right. And that is actually a lot of music uh dynamic coming into the band. It's actually really cool to hear the fact that they're somebody for that has almost a full decade, if not more, experience in the music industry, being in different bands. Uh, would you be able to teach me how to sing?
I could, I am certified to do so.
All right. So, I mean, for me, I'm a bassist, or I love the bass guitar. Um, I also like messing with the electronics.
Oh, heck yeah.
I do all the soldering myself. I have my bass guitar up on my wall right now. Uh, it has a vintage style humbucker, a Music Man pickup, as well as some new P bass pickups. And so for me, bass has always been like, I don't know. I just like the moody tones that it can create.
For sure.
Uh,
And I think that's super fascinating. That's something that I could never get into is like the intricate, like making the instruments and how they sound and how they work. It goes so over my head. And I think it's so cool.
and so for each band member, I'm guessing you guys do you guys choose specific instruments as far as like brands, the type of guitars you guys choose, and
So with with our drummer, it's whatever he can afford because drums are expensive. Every part of a drum is so expensive.
that is true.
I don't know about our guitarists and basses. I know Alex is pretty picky. And I also know that he has worked, like you with your bass, he's worked a lot on his own guitars and his own bass. And then Logan is also pretty picky about it, but I'm not exactly sure what they like. I'll have to ask them.
Okay, and then how about yourself? Do you play bass? Do you play guitar? What?
So I play everything that isn't a wind instrument. So,
The
but
triangle, I'm guessing
like
as well.
I grew up with folk music, and so being in bluegrass and folk, we were pretty dirt poor. So honestly, I don't have a preference on brands. If it sounds good, then I'm gonna play it, whether it's some rinky tink you got at a thrift shop or somebody made it in their basement. If it sounds good, I'll play it.
That is actually there's some artists that I admire that just take, you know what, I'm gonna buy like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Love King Gizzard.
Oh, I'm wearing one of their shirts right now, back when I saw them back in 2018. Like out of their most recent album, like I'm blanking on the name. Flight B7. Yeah, I'm blanking out. But I was reading that they took these rinky dink amplifiers for their guitars, and everything was played on those.
Ugh,
And the sound that comes out of it is just like, it makes it sound like there's overdriven guitars on it. It makes it feel so kind of bluesy, bluegrass. So the fact of taking uh what most people would probably say, "Oh, I'm not going to spend $20 on something that's so rinky dink," uh, to say low tier,
right.
and but the fact that technically you could still make really good music out of products that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on.
Hmm.
That if you want to make music, you can just take whatever you want and make it.
Exactly. Shaky Graves is a big hero of mine because he started with just a pawn shop guitar and a suitcase that he turned into a drum. And he would play on the corner and he would play guitar and hit that.
Oh wow, all right. It seems that the seems like our connection with Stevie did cut out for a moment, so we're gonna circle back in just a moment. Again, no worries. All right, we're back with Stevie. Slight technical difficulties, but that's okay. We're back. Uh, Considering that you guys are in Texas with the heat and everything, technology isn't. It seems like it it can be a detriment sometimes because technology doesn't like heat, even though
No,
heat.
it does not.
So we were talking about uh music instruments and whatnot, and I know you mentioned that you did folk, and so and then your husband did hip hop.
Right.
Is there influences in Eviction Notice that maybe down the line you guys are going to be pulling from other genres and implementing it?
Yes. So I do know. So, for instance, one of our friends is in a band called Magnolia Park. They're really great. And something that I really enjoy about them is they do pop punk, but they also kind of incorporate hip hop to it. That's why in Overthinking, I actually borrowed idea from them, where in the second verse they have a hip hop, almost like trap beat to the drums. I love when pop punk does that. I love that. So we're very, very interested in incorporating all sorts of genres. That's why we call ourselves heavy pop punk. Not necessarily because we plan on being screaming and yelling all the time, but because we want to change it up. We want to do something different. We may dip into Midwest emo, we may dip into more post hardcore. We're very, very open minded to it.
All right, all right. I mean, I'm always glad to hear that. I kind of tend to think that uh, bands will always choose a specific genre, and then they just decide to, okay, I've listened to this in the past, I really like this, and then let me take a little bit of this and add it, spice it up a
Mm,
little bit, create something new. It's a I feel like music is always you're expressing yourself and the evolution of yourself.
absolutely.
Is And I know that in your recent Instagram, you guys posted that you guys are planning on doing a cover of Pierce the Veil. Uh, I'm assuming Pierce the Veil is one of the big bands that you guys love.
Yes. So we actually got the awesome opportunity to see them live this year.
Okay.
We have never seen them live, and one of our friends had tickets, but he was in LA and couldn't make it. And we're talking an hour before the show. He said, "Y'all want to go for free?" And we hauled ass to Fort Worth, which is about an hour drive. Caught the very tail end of Pierce the Veil set because it was a Blink 182 show. But it was awesome. It was so awesome. We love them. We take a lot of inspiration from them, mainly Alex. If you ever listen to Alex's solo career, he is a Pierce the Veil fan, diehard fan. So yes, absolutely.
All right. And then other are there other musical influences other than Pierce the Veil that you guys tend to look up to, such as also Blink 182, maybe Linkin Park?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So some of our influences are like I'm a big fan of Stand Atlantic. They're an Australian based band. They're great. I love them. Obviously Paramore. Though I do try not to I notice that a lot of people that say that Paramore is an inspiration get put into a box, like a very specific box of female pop punk fronted stuff. So I do try to kind of like tiptoe around Paramore a little bit. No offense to them by any means. I'm trying to think. We King Gizzard, in a weird way, is also an inspiration, but more so the fact that they genre jump and
Mhm.
they're not afraid to do Eyes Like the Sky, and then suddenly they're doing Self-Immolate, and then suddenly they're doing Fishing for Fishies. Like it's all different, and yet their fan base is so okay with that. And you don't see that a lot. A lot of people try to stay in their lane, and they don't want to explore outside of that because it's scary. And so that's something we really want to do, is to be able to explore the different genres in our band. So
That actually reminds me of a there's a band by called "I Don't Know How, But They Found Me."
Oh yeah, we love
Yeah,
them.
Dallin Weeks. He the
Yeah.
one of the tracks. I forget what it is, but it's specifically about how sometimes fans, um, if an artist decides to change their sound and whatnot, fans can be like, "Oh, this isn't the band that I remember. I don't
Mhm.
like this." Um, but I think what fans also need to take into account is that you're listening to kind of like the what the artist wants to just bring out to the world.
Absolutely.
And so even though you may relate to it and you let's say you might not like it, uh and of course the artist will be like, well, it's now in the world, take what you will from it. It doesn't
Right.
matter to them because they're at the core of music. It's the music is always, I think now, it's always made for the artist, for themselves. And then if the fans can relate to it, then they'll relate to it and take what they will from it. Take maybe a grain of salt from it, but it's ultimately, if you don't like it, that's fine. If just don't make a big fuss out of it.
Absolutely. And, we're taking into account what people like. Obviously, if we put out something that's a little heavier and we find that our fan base really likes the more poppy stuff, we're still going to put out poppy stuff. We care about our fan base and what they like and what they enjoy, but it's not going to stop us from putting out what we want as well, even if no one listens to it. It's out there, it exists, and that makes us happy.
I'd say as long as it makes you happy, do what you want. Create
Exactly.
create everything that you want to create.
Exactly.
And it seems like in that creation process, if you wanted to create anything, absolutely any type of album, is there an idea of like how you would want to create it, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, so we do want to genre jump and kind of explore all of that, but our core, we really want to kind of stay in that pop punk post hardcore. Alex is our screaming guy. He's fantastic at it. I could not. I admire it. It's great. And so I really want to like tap into that. I think post hardcore is a lot of fun. I also don't think that there's really a lot of female leaded post hardcore bands. I know there's Spirit Box and things like that. So there are a few, but it's a pretty male led genre. And I think it would be really cool to kind of dip into that as well.
Okay, okay. And are there any in it, whether it be post hardcore, whether it be pop punk, or even any other type of genre, even if it be folk, hip hop, is there like this dream collaboration that you guys wish,
Oh
whether
God.
whether the artist is alive or passed away, uh, that you wish you could collaborate, even if, let's say even if it's a producer
Oh,
that you would love to.
absolutely. So we have a producer and we have an artist that are both alive and well. The artist and somebody that we're pushing very hard is Kellen Quinn. Which we found out he does do collaborations with people. You can pay to send your song over, he'll give it a listen, and if he feels like it's good, he'll collab with anyone that he feels is good. And so that's like our dream is to have a Kellen Quinn feature. As far as producers, there is a producer that his name is also Stevie. I believe his last name is Knight. So he has done producing for Blink. He's done producing for Stan Atlantic. He's also did the soundtrack to Bayonetta 3.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so I adore his work so much. I am a nerd about it. I love his work. And so I would love to have an EP recorded by him. That would be so cool.
The fact that he did help produce on Bayonetta 3 is, I'm like, wow, video game soundtrack. All right. I don't often hear very many, I guess, like big musical producers kind of, or producers that go into video game
Right.
soundtracks. Like
And
the
I love
only
it. I love that. Like, how cool would it be to have a song that's like a pop punk song, but also like disaster piece help to
oh
do
my
it?
God. That actually sounds really amazing. I'd play the heck out of that game. Like
That would be
it
so
it it actually kind of reminds me of the poster that I have on the wall right here, Japanese Breakfast. Michelle's Honor. She actually did the soundtrack for the video game Sable,
cool. I
the
didn't know that.
entire thing. Yeah, I have the soundtrack. I've played the game. It's a the game I really do like. It just runs terribly on my computer. Say that. The
Cries and sense.
soundtrack,
I get that.
mhm, but the soundtrack is absolutely beautiful.
Gosh, I love that. And I love them too. Their music is so pretty,
Oh,
so beautiful.
I mean, I believe it was very recently that Michelle's Honor announced that they're planning the next album is in the works. It's they're planning on releasing. It seems like they're planning on releasing it next year in March, and it's
Oh,
supposed
that's
to be a
around
lot
my
darker. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So as far as wow, I mean we're going left and right with all this. So I also know that you mentioned on your Instagram as well that tomorrow you guys have your debut show.
Yes.
How psyched are you guys for that?
Super psyched. So it's funny because it's a debut show, but it's not the first show we've ever played. It's
Oh,
definitely not even the 100th show. You know, we're all in separate bands and we've all performed for years. And so we're not so much nervous just because it is like something we're comfortable doing. But we're excited because this is the first eviction notice. This is the first time like we all are coming together. That and we're covering Thank You for the Venom by My Chemical Romance,
all
and
right,
that
all
one
right.
is it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm really excited. I'm a little nervous to see how that goes, but we're really excited. Also, the opener, the guy that we're opening for, is it Josh? Fantastic. He is so good. So we're excited to share the stage with him.
And so going off of that, do you guys have any pre-rituals that you guys have? And since you said that you've played in front of people already before, are do you have any pre-show rituals? Do your bandmates have pre-show rituals to like calm down nerves? Do you feel that even that nervousness uh before a show is that always there?
Um, yes, right when we're getting on stage. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I know we're live. This man knocked on my window. The fun of being in a music industry. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries. Back after a small tech technical discrepancy.
This is why
Things
I
happen.
wrote over.
So you have the show tomorrow. Um, so pre-show rituals.
Yes. So
What kind of
pre-show.
things do you do?
So I personally don't have a lot of pre-show rituals other than just, meeting the bands and making sure that everyone is happy, everyone is healthy. I really like to meet the sound guys. I really like to meet the bartenders. Those people are going to be the most important people at that show, and they deserve to have their name known and to know that they are doing a great job. So that's one that I do. I know Alex and Liam always get a beatbox right before the show that they drink outside and then come in. It's like their little ritual that they do. So, my favorite thing about those two, Alex and Liam, Liam's our drummer. He's my husband. Alex is our roommate, our best friend. He was the best man at our wedding. They have always, for the past like 3, 4 years, had this will they, won't they on social media, where for some reason people ship them and are like, do they kiss? And so we like to joke that pre-show ritual is that they go and kiss, but we don't actually know if they do or not.
Well,
And nobody will ever know if they actually do or not.
all right. we're not saying here if they do. We're not saying here if they don't. We still don't know.
We still
We
don't know.
only they will know.
Exactly.
All right. And so, do you guys have any more concerts planned in the future? Uh, in the near future?
Yes, so we have another show that just got announced yesterday. Will be fully announced after tomorrow. We're playing in Fort Worth for New Noise. So it is a collection. It's a free show, and it's a collection of a bunch of local DFW bands that the promoters have curated that they think are some of the best up and coming in the DFW area. So we were honored to play that. We're super excited for that. So that'll be at Haltom Theater, and we're stoked. Otherwise, we're kind of taking it easy the rest of the year to kind of get some songs going. We have a potential EP coming out next year. We're looking at the logistics of that. We're also looking at potentially doing a small US tour next year, just to go visit some of the places that our fans have mentioned, and go say hi to everybody. So
Right. Well, I mean, if you guys come to LA, I'll be
it
like,
is on the list. It is on the list.
let me purchase a ticket real quick. uh, so that you actually answered one of my questions. I was gonna end up asking, do you guys have any big plans for the near future? So you guys, it seems like an EP is in the potential works, considering that you also have the Eviction Notice book of 40 plus songs already seems like those are in the works or have already been written, but perhaps not fully produced and mastered and whatnot. I'm assuming. So
Nope,
you get
not at all.
all right. So the an EP or maybe in the even near a little bit further down the line, a full length album to be made and put out would be potentially in
Hopefully,
the works.
hopefully, yes.
Hopefully. Okay.
It's kind of weird because I feel like with marketing now, with social media and kind of how you get your name out, I feel like albums just maybe aren't as necessary anymore. It's something I want to do, but it's
Okay.
also something that like not a lot of people do anymore. I feel like people put EPs and singles out now. So it's kind of the question of, do we want to put out a full album or do we want to stick to an
Mm,
EP?
that is a good question. It kind of reminds me of Zed's most recent album. His it's called Telos, and I got to hear him talk about it a little bit, and he kind of mentioned that in more recent times, albums tend to be more like playlists, and that you can kind of pick and choose, oh, let me listen to these songs, add it to a playlist, and not listen to
Yeah.
the entire thing from front to back. And I kind of understand where you're going, where you're coming from, because if it's an EP, it's a lot shorter, so it's a little bit more digestible, especially in modern times with social media, shorts. I was gonna say vines, man. I'm back in like
Oh
2000.
gosh.
Oh no, I'm in the early mid 2010s.
Same here. It's okay.
TikTok, TikTok, reels, shorts.
And
It
that's,
it seems
I feel like short form content is like the thing now. And that goes the same for music. I mean, people tend to not even like hearing songs that are like longer than 3, 4 minutes anymore, other than like, psychedelic rock listeners that will listen to a sleep song that's an hour long, right? That's different. It's an anomaly, right? But I feel like the majority now, they, after 4 minutes, they get tired, they get bored, and it it's weird. Is I wouldn't say it's inherently a bad thing, but it's different. And I think same with marketing. Used to you'd go out to the mall and you'd sell your CD and hope that people listen to it. You'd send your CD to the record label and hope that they listen to it. And now it's, well, how many followers do you have? How many people have listened to your song on Spotify? Like, what do your numbers look like? It's like that's super crucial now, whether or not we like it or not. And it's interesting.
do you think that that's kind of detrimental to the music, and I guess to up and coming artists as well? It's like the fact that, oh, you gotta have to what are your numbers? And considering that Spotify, I mean, majority of the people tend to have a Spotify account, but the payout to artists isn't that great.
It's
I am
not.
unf- I am unfortunately I do have a Spotify account, but I uh also have a Tidal account, which from my knowledge, Tidal tends to pay artists a little bit better than they do um on Spotify when they
That's
stream. And but I also think that maybe also looking into um kind of independently um releasing music, such as even using Bandcamp.
absolutely.
um I think because for me anyway, through Bandcamp, what I like, I am willing to pay the money to buy it on Bandcamp, so I can give that money to the artist. And
Absolutely.
although the streaming part on Bandcamp, they don't pay the artist for the streams, what I would do is I'll pay for the album on Bandcamp, and yeah, I'll still stream it on Spotify. So at least I'm kind of double giving back to the artist in a way.
See,
And
and I wish more people did that, but unfortunately,
Mhm.
you can't hope that everyone will, and it sucks. Like, and that's what I tell because I help bands with their social media marketing because that's where um kind of what my job is as well. I'm kind of a Swiss Army person, but I help people with their social media content and kind of what that looks like, get their numbers up. And, I tell everyone, I'm like, I don't like this job. I don't want,
Mhm.
I would love to delete social media and never touch it again.
Same.
But unfortunately, you can't. If you're doing music, if you're doing any kind of art at this point, you got to know how to market yourself in addition to knowing how to do your art. Uh,
True. Um, Honestly, for me, I kind of feel the same way to an extent, because all this album review stuff that I do, it came out. It's for me, it's a hobby.
yeah.
I don't plan on like mark doing any marketing for myself, honestly. I'm just doing it. If I can do what I want with it, I'm going to do it. I don't really care about numbers. All I care about is listening to new music, loving it, and giving my opinions. And I think my opinions are always terrible because I consider myself a somewhat average dude when it
I
comes.
don't think they're
But
terrible at all.
oh, thank you. But I always love listening to new music because it makes you broaden your horizons of of what other artists are creating and what they're talking about. Because yeah, you might pigeonhole yourself with one genre, but sometimes the themes tend to be very similar. Sometimes I will caveat that with sometimes, not always. But I also I also feel like collaboration with other genres kind of brings in this new fresh feel sometimes, which I
I
love.
and I that's why like even if I don't like recently, for instance, I grew up on country music. I'm from Texas. Of course I grew up on country music. And so like I have a love for it. I also have a dislikement for it, but I have a love for it. And recently a lot of pop punk and rock and rap has blended with country. And while I don't really like a lot of it, I appreciate that what they're doing. I appreciate that they're trying to do something different and do something new. And even if it doesn't sound good, in my opinion, I appreciate that it exists.
Hmm.
I think that's
True.
cool.
It's there. I feel like it allows them to explore a different genre, even though to an extent I'm like, well, it kind of ends up being a little bit of a fad than anything else,
Absolutely.
which sometimes I'm like, feels a little bit detrimental, but it also does bring a lot of new fans to certain genres, because it's like,
Absolutely.
oh, this is now country fied.
I mean,
Jeez,
country fried works too.
too. Yes, I mean King Gizzard, Country
Exactly.
Fried.
Eyes Like the Sky is one of my favorite albums of theirs. And it's that like Western, like, like it's
Yeah,
so
I mean, that album in and of itself, rest in peace, Roderick Smith, Kenny Ambrose Smith's father, who did the entire narration for it. The fact that that second album is it's a spaghetti western spoken word album after a garage rock debut album. It's like, okay, usually most people sophomore album is the same style as their first album. Nope. You know what? They went from zero to 1,000.
I mean, look at Polygon Land versus anything
Mm.
else they've put out. Like it's crazy.
I have such reverence and love for them. Uh, I could gush about them for
No,
hours, honestly.
honestly, same. The way that I saw them, I saw during Infest the Rat's Nest. I saw them in Austin at Stubbs. And during self-immolate, I was in the mosh pit and someone popped my knee out of place and I fell. During self-immolate, so I'm sitting there in pain, but also I'm like, this is a main character moment. This is a core memory for me. And I had to sit out for the last song, but so
Yeah,
worth it. So worth
so
it.
worth it.
I could talk about them forever.
Yeah, I'm assuming that at some point, I could imagine you guys doing a collab with King Gizzard at some point. Oh man,
I doubt they would want to. I
I
mean,
mean, Stu. I mean, he kind of does the mixing. I mean, they do everything in house. They don't. Majority of the mixing kind of tends to be Stu. You sometimes even Kavanaugh, Cavs. Uh, will help. I mean, what just recently, Cookie Craig, Pipe Eye, he released his new album. So everybody in the band has their side stuff, but like I feel like Stu specifically, because he always is working on new stuff, and also the fact with Polygon Wonderland, what they did with that album, the fact that they gave the entire masters out to their fans to make literally official bootlegs
fantastic.
is
Fantastic.
fantastic. And I could see them, like, maybe not the entire band, but like I can see certain members be like, "Oh yeah, I'll collaborate." I mean, Gum, the most recent album features majority of on the new Gum album that released earlier this year. Kenny Ambrose Smith, he was on that album majority of the album as well. So I feel
Not a
like the I feel like they would definitely be down to collab with a lot of different artists.
That would be the hope. That would be the absolute hope because they're
Even
great.
yeah, even if it's like producing, I could kind of see it.
Absolutely. For
Uh,
sure.
so I feel like we're kind of heading more towards the tail end of the interview. Um, so it seems so we've already talked about possible plans of an EP coming out next year, possible tour next year. What about merch for the fans?
Having merch soon. I actually have someone working on our mascot. We're gonna have a little iconic little mascot. He's a wizard raccoon.
I love
Uh,
it. I love it. Raccoons. Oh my god.
he's great. We haven't named him yet, but he's in the works. He should be done by January, so we'll be releasing that soon. We have pretty generic merch right now. Again, being broke musicians, we are doing what we can with what we have. Uh, but yeah, our little raccoon guy will be coming soon. We'll probably take a vote online to see what his name is.
All right. I'll be totally looking forward to that. I'm oh, any mascots. I'm like I love it. King Gizzard with their gator all the time.
Yeah, we love the gator.
Gotta love the gator. I love the gator. That is a that sounds like a really good tattoo. Gotta love the gator. Uh King Gizzard, man. They always come out. Um
Tell me.
and so EP, merch, uh, LP, possibly in the far future. Um, are there any things in the works that you hope you can do that you may not be thinking about, like maybe music videos?
So we haven't really thought too much on music videos, just because I feel like we do so much social media stuff that until people ask for music videos, it's extra expenditure, right? And so we haven't really worked on any ideas with music videos. We have a photo shoot coming up that's really goofy. We do love those. Something kind of cool that we do is every single has a color scheme. So if you go back and look on our Instagram, you'll kind of see a theme. For overthinking, it was the oranges and yellows.
Mhm.
For the new one coming out, it's going to be blues and reds. And so you'll start to see like cohesive stuff with every single that we put out.
All right. That is actually very cool. Because sometimes you see artists that kind of just not to necessarily say spray and pray, but like they sometimes don't have like a color scheme, kind of like that idea of a color scheme to be the main idea, or not the main idea, but like to market it is like actually kind of really cool to see.
Yeah, I love it. I've seen we have some friends. They're in a band called Pennyboard,
Okay.
and we love them. But one of the cool things is she is so artistic, with all of her approaches. She does pop-ups, she does color schemes and like themes, and it's so cool. Um, I love it. And then water parks. They're also an inspiration to for us. And they all of their albums have a color scheme, every single one, and
All
I love
right.
it.
And so I'm gonna actually end this interview with one last question, because Warp Tour, the pre-sale tickets go on sale. I didn't check when they're going on sale,
I think
but
it's 24th, I think.
okay. If you were invited to Warp Tour to play,
Hmm.
what would be the big five artists in collaboration on Warp Tour that you would love to see on
Oh,
stage and be on
so
stage with?
probably definitely Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens. Wonder Years would be really cool to see. Deep Cut, but Never Shout Never, if he would make a comeback, would make us very happy. And then, oh gosh, you know, oh, Bring Me the Horizon,
Ooh, all right. Yes. I could
Oliver
definitely
Sykes,
see.
absolutely.
Ooh. All right, Stevie. It was wonderful talking to you. It was wonderful to talk about the new single, potential plans in the future for you guys, how you guys came about. Is there anything that you want to say to the fans or to even new listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to the ones that do. And also just like be yourself. I know that it's like something that a lot of people say and it gets annoying after a while, but like you get 100 years in this lifetime, maybe less because we don't take care of ourselves or the environment. There's no reason to do anything that you don't want to do. There's no reason. So if you want to join a pop punk band at the age of 30, join the pop punk band at the age of 30. If you want to get that tattoo, get 84 of them. You know, do what you love because you only get maybe 100 years.
Beautifully said. And with that, remember everyone, go listen to Eviction Notice. They're on all streaming platforms. Listen to the new song, to their most recent song, Overthinking. Be looking forward to the newest cover of Pierce the Veil. And with that, we'll be leaving you. You guys have a good rest of your day. And have a good rest of your day, Stevie.
Thank you. You as well.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.